There's always a great challenge when it comes to talking about games, specifically being what you want to prioritize during the discussion. Sometimes it's best to make it fundamentally all about the humor, making you, who are watching this, laugh and have a good time. Other times, it's more about making it for me myself, releasing up pent-up emotions that cannot be locked inside a vault, or more recently a military van. This time, however, something new happened. This is the first time ever on my channel where I'm quite frankly hoping that the developers of the game that I'm about to discuss will watch this. I really hope that they will watch this and listen. Because of that, I will try to articulate myself as best I can and be as respectful as possible. As the game that is currently in front of me that I want to go into is Dispatch by Ad Hoc Studio. This game I have fallen for. The characters truly are something that I've ended up loving. The story, however, the storytelling is horrible. I'm really conflicted when it comes to this game, so please understand, Ad Hoc. If you're watching, I really hope you are, please understand that I would never have made this video had I not really enjoyed it, but I really want to love it. So what I did was that I got my beautiful leather-bound notebook that I use to take notes and analyze the stuff I want to talk about. I replayed the game 2 more times, so now I have 3 playthroughs under my belt. And I feel like I've gotten such a good understanding now of what the problems are with this game, with the story specifically, that I really feel prepared to deep dive into how Ad Hoc, you, the writers, can improve your next work, whether it be a sequel or a completely new project. So I will do what I did with my previous video. I will segment this entire project into several parts. I will put them right here for your convenience. Also probably in the timeline that you can see on YouTube. I will also, for those of you who have not played this game, please understand that I'm making this in hope that the developers are watching it and also the people who have played it are watching it. So I will not sort of summarize what the story is, who the characters are, etc, etc, etc. This is completely just go deep into analysis mode. So if you haven't played it, it might be a bit confusing, but it is what it is. Let's just start with a very simple positive stuff, what I liked. So, yeah, here you go. Spoilers beware. The characters are genuinely lovable. The C team, Robert, Blonde Blazer, Chase, etc. They are just such comfort food of a cast. So many scenes and moments are just pure feel-good. Now, this will be touched on a bit later in another segment, but when looking at these scenarios in a bubble completely by themselves, I find them all phenomenal. I like that they didn't do what is so popular these days in having a rug pull with their superheroes that also seem like good people. Blazer and Phenomenon are good people, and thank you, writers, for keeping them that way. I enjoyed a lot of the action scenes and how they were choreographed. The visuals could several times tell a story itself. The presentation overall, music, audio, design, get high scores. The romance subplot I found endearing and sweet, which is something I care a lot about as a hopeless romantic. And finally, the thing I want to praise the most, the pacing throughout this entire series of episodes. Pure 10 out of 10. I was glued to the screen every playthrough. So with the positives out of the way, let's jump into what I feel would be the biggest issue, the biggest negative with the writing, and that is the fact that there are no real consequences here. Or to be even more specific, the writers are terrified of having you, the player, feel uncomfortable. Stories are separated into acts, which all contains actions with reactions that actors act. And the consequences of these actions lies in what stories fundamentally are about. Change. Change can be scary for many, as it brings both uncertainty and discomfort, and my God, do these writers detest living with the consequences of one's actions. In some sense, it's like a promise by the writers that they immediately break, meaning that we eventually will stop trusting their future promises. Let me throw you some big examples here, and then I will go into why this is a major issue for a narrative. At the end of episode 2, Robert and Blazer walks from work together, and here we can try to follow up on the spark that happened during episode 1, regardless on whether you went in for the smooch or not, and then this happens.
Since the other night,
Blonde Blazer. Are you ready to go?
damn! Look at this twist right here. It immediately recontextualizes the bar scene from the pilot, and the way Phenomemon's intro mirrors Blonde Blazers, only lacking the warmth, the way the camera shows how small the heroine is in comparison, how every line he states seems to make Robert feel small as possible, including talking over him, and then the brilliant line Mandy says, brimming with subtext.
He flies a little faster.
I cannot wait to see where the story goes with this promise! This is the next scene that we see Blazer in.
Phenomenon and I broke up.
No, my beautiful drama, come back! Come back! Allow me to quickly jump in there and say one thing that I'm really happy about. I am genuinely ecstatic that the writers did not do the typical rug pull in having Blonde Blazer or Phenomenon be like bad guys. They're just good. There's no evil Superman, there's no Homelander shenanigans here. Blonde Blazer is a genuinely good person as she's a superhero, and Phenomenon is a good hero, but he has some social issues, but not because he's bad, just because he got to our planet, or planet Earth, as an adult. So culturally he has some weirdness going on, but he's still good, and that, thank you. My biggest issue is the fact that when you have these non-committal actions without reactions, it's kind of like, imagine those classic stories with those cliffhangers. How will our hero get away from this situation? He's hanging on for dear life and, you know, watch next episode of this super show, haha. Now imagine that, and then you go to the next episode and it starts by the hero being safe on the ground with the lift crew that saved him having a cup of coffee, and then you hear someone, you know, off screen saying that they got the bad guy in prison. Ad hoc promised interpersonal drama, and the next pretty much scene, or the next time they bring up this plot point or this plot line, they said, don't worry about it, it's over, all good, you don't have to feel bad, no conflict here. I hate this because the story does this constantly. It keeps going this route, and I mean it does it constantly. Flambe, one of the rehabilitated villains with a history with Mecha Man, tries to murder Robert when learning the truth about him. Murder him. Straight up killing him. Being saved by the other Z-Team members because they have fought hard to become better people. This can be some great drama!
Yeah, so I might have to do that once a month or so as a release of my hatred for you. Happy housewarming, bitch. Your place fucking sucks.
Okay, this other time, Robert is inside of his robot. Oh, I get it now, that's cute. Anyways, Robert is inside his robot, that's his, you know, they're trying to fix, and suddenly the worst accident happens. It explodes from the inside. Last time it exploded, and it was on the outside, he ended up in a coma. Just imagine how this will change the course of the entire story.
What are you doing up?
Turns out, I'm completely fine.
But why have an explosion if you're not... Whatever. In the penultimate episode, the evil villain Shroud and the cut C-Team member are torturing Robert. Like torturing him physically. This should have massive ramifications.
Oh, thank you. That's your lifesaver.
But he was tortured. They completely messed him up! Hell, if it's Coupe that does the hurting, she uses edged weapons for crying out loud. Why the hell are there more consequences in Hell's Kitchen when Coupe messes up the salmon?
And Coupe has delivered undercooked salmon.
There are a smaller example here as well. Like after the explosion scene, Royd goes full depressive mode, stating,
"It's over, brother. No pause mean I can't make the man mecha."
Only for him to pop up like 10 minutes later going,
"Figured it out, brother. The man can be mecha again."
All of these broken promises, these actions without true reactions, causes some massive issues for the one experiencing the story. When the game constantly reminds the player that nothing bad is going to stay bad, that there are no actual consequences that we gotta live with, every time the story tries to have a big moment, we know that nothing bad is going to come out of it. When Chase does his sacrificial run, saving Vizzy from dying, of course nothing bad's gonna happen to him. Sure, he ends up in a coma, but come on! We know that he's absolutely gonna run again, because the writers can't have any actual meaningful change happen, so when the Z-Team goes all...
Fine, I'll fucking say it. What if Chase dies?
Of course he's not gonna die. Hell, he's going to come back better than ever later.
That's it? Let's go again. Anybody want to go again?
This way of doing things makes it all feel like a fanfic written by a fan who wants to put his favorite characters through insane scenarios only for the next chapter to have everything be back hunky-dory. Because it's gotta be feel good. Gotta be all slice of life-like. Even the big decision Robert can make in regards to following through his vengeance. There is no actual negativity stemming from killing Shroud, aside from him getting suspended for a week. We're giving one scene, where Chase is trying to steer Robert onto the good path of mercy.
Shroud killed him, Chase. There's only one thing I can do.
You know that's not true. I'm not sure your dad would want it that way.
So he, at least, obviously is going to have a scene going deep into his disappointment. How he once saw a young child wanting to be a hero, now losing himself to hatred. This is going to be some fantastic
Shroud deserved what he got.
Fine, whatever. At least with the cut C-Team member, Coop or Sonar, at least this is a decision that we have to live with, right?
What do you think? Did they earn a pardon?
Is that my call?
Oh, come on! They killed so many people! Before anyone states that I could just not forgive them, that is not the point. Living with the decisions that you've made, knowing that the consequences will truly, you have to live with them. You've made your bed, you know, that sort of thing, that matters. Now, it's okay having some of your decisions, you know, having a bit of a, don't worry about it. It's fine with some of them, but not all of them! Now, the way I would have changed it, and this is not me saying that I'm a better writer than the ad hoc team, like I've never written anything that's been published, so what do I know? However, if I were to do it, it would kind of go like this. The Blazer/Phenomenon scene should either be revised or cut. Having her dump him before the bar scene at the beginning could have fixed some stuff here as well, but as things stand, I feel it would have been better to just change the emotional charge of the scene entirely. The Robert explosion moment should just remove the explosion. It feels as if it's only there to show the Z-Team or just Vizzy's reaction to him being in danger, but it's too silly to have that be the only reason. It just makes it all melodramatic. Therefore, having it rather mirror the previous robot failing moment, only this time Royd giving up and showing Robert truly dejected, would have added more subtlety and nuance with the team, as they now see Robert feeling horrible during the time where they finally consider him a friend. Okay, Flambe's murder attempt should just either be removed or have him stay gone way longer. I think it could have added a lot to his character if he suddenly showed up during the climax, saving Mecha Man, showing that while he still have a lot of growing up to do, deep down he truly has become a hero, or at least someone who strives to be a hero.
I'm a bitch.
The Sonar/Coop choice should have been something that stuck and have them fundamentally be on the other side. Simple as that. You shouldn't be allowed to forgive them. It removes the big consequence there. The torture scene that Robert endures should have had some actual permanent harm happen to him. That would have added to Vizzy's hardship, and it could be especially good if you romanced her. The chase run should have been his final heroic moment. His last run, saving someone he never trusted to begin with. Having him bedridden forever would have been really painful, but really powerful. Going from the fastest man alive to never being able to use his legs again. This decision could also massively improve my next change. The vengeance conclusion. Killing Shroud should be a big deal, at least for some of the more heroic individuals, and Chase should be the primary push as to what people think about Robert's choice. He should be deeply disappointed if hatred won out, but excessively proud if Robert allowed mercy to be the answer. If nothing matters in a story, then the story does not matter. If the writer sits down with his pen, or her, and then just keeps writing things with the mindset that, oh, but the player, the viewer, the reader, they have to feel good, then the writer has forgotten the most important thing about art. Art does not exist to make you feel happy. Art exists to make you feel anything and everything. And that's the biggest issue, I feel, with this piece of art. It's tough, but it is what it is. And no matter how much I can make this video, they get, feedback in a critical sense. Dispatch Season 1 exists, and it is just a feel-good thing with a lot of concepts and topics that requires that things get uncomfortable and difficult. And that is something what a writer has to do. They have to go deep within themselves and really explore what makes themselves feel, you know, these dark things. You have to do that to actually make something meaningful. That's art. But anyways, let's jump over to the next segment. Which, what is that? Ah, yes. How the central plot and subplots do not interweave at all. Before we jump into the details here, we must first make the theme clear, as thematic consistency makes it easier to understand what the story is fundamentally about and how the different plot lines strengthen each other. I have talked about what themes in storytelling are before, but to make it as short as possible, it is the primary idea being explored with drama throughout the entire story, the primary argument being made, the controlling idea, you can call it whatever you want, but it is just as stated, it is what the story is about. So what is the theme of Dispatch? Well, trying to convey it as best as I can, I wrote it like this. No matter how small the chance, it is always worth giving it a shot. We see this theme explored in every plotline, central or subplot. The entire Z-Team story, it's about a group of ex-villains trying to get rehabilitated into heroes, and some of these villains have done deeds that might be considered irredeemable by some, yet the SDN and Robert, who is a superhero, is willing to give them a chance. A shot at redemption. The Mecha Man storyline, the inciting incident, is our hero getting a chance at revenge, which leaves Robert without his means of ever being a superhero again, yet SDN gives him another shot by having him become a dispatcher while trying to fix his unfixable suit. Then we have the villain, who represents the counter-argument, the antithesis, a man who wants the astral pulse to never have to take chances ever again. He wants to know what decisions to make with 100% certainty. Hell, I gotta give it to the devs in that they push this theme ludonarratively, as every time you dispatch a hero to deal with a problem, it is percentage-based. And the times when I could only send one person who might not have been the best for the job, and yet, with the chances they got pulled through, it gives you the most holy shit, I knew you had it in you, you're the best! And if they fail a mission when they really should have had it in the bag, you just tell them that, you know what, we all can stumble, but we never give up. One of the decisions you can beat the villain with is by forcing him to make a decision based on chance. It is consistent through all plot lines, sans the sonar coupe thing. It's great, it's wonderful even. I really like the theme that's being pushed here. The issue just lies in the fact that the Shroud Robert Revenge plotline, the Z-Team building work rehab plotline, the Coop/Sonar, the Cut Z-Team member plotline, the romance plotline, the Visi story, none of them connect. They do not interconnect with one another, to the point where I wonder what happened at the writer's room. I am baffled by the fact that we are playing as a superhero who is currently going through a dark phase in his life, wanting to commit revenge through murder, who at the same time is rehabilitating villains to make them heroes. And yet there isn't a single time in the story where the team members learn about Robert's hatred, discuss it, react to it, or anything in between. Like, it never shows up. Am I the only one who feels that this is insane? I'm gonna go deeper into this later, but isn't this just a massive missed opportunity in having some cool and meaningful character moments? One of the greatest boons in having a big cast of characters is showing how they all differ in reactions when given revelations. How would someone like Coupe, who is a serial killer... Listen, you can pretty up the words by using terms like assassin, but let's not kid ourselves. Coupe is flying up in the air because she knows that when she lands, she will see that she has painted the world in a red that she will never be able to wash her hands clean of. So, how would someone like this react to Robert's revengeful heart compared to Golem, whose greatest crime is making a public disturbance? How would invisigal discuss this when she thought for a moment in her life that she actually killed someone for the first time, that someone being Robert himself? How would Prism, who called Mecha Man a real superhero, putting him above other heroes on a pedestal, change her mind if she knew he wanted to murder someone? Again, you have a group of misfits who used to be villains, who are clinging to the hope of bettering themselves. Why not use this, writers? Again, just to make the point as clear as possible, there's not a single moment, scene, line of dialogue that connects these plot lines, and it's insane because doing so would just strengthen the story in general and each plot line. Imagine with the romance stuff, if Mandy or Courtney actually reached out a healing, helping hand because they know that he wants to bloody his. Like, that would add so much dramatic, meaningful moments that could make the story be more meaningful and dramatic. It frustrates me because why are you telling a revenge story? Revenge. People want revenge because they feel a great grudge emotionally that they literally cannot let go. They're emotionally pushed to a point where they want to do something bad. So why are you removing the emotions from the revenge story? It's so frustrating, and it makes everything regarding Shroud and Robert excessively weak, and it feels that it just comes out of nowhere every time they do talk about it. It's frustrating beyond belief. You can't choose to have this concept in the story and then remove the deep-seated hatred that causes people to seek revenge in the first place. You can't. That's what revenge is. It's like removing love from a romance story. It's like removing the fear from a horror story. Like, what are you doing? Could easily also connect the rehab plotline with the Sonar Coop story. As things stand with them, they really have nothing going on. They vanish the moment they're cut and pop up when Shroud decides to join the story. The way they could have fixed this, or strengthened it rather, would be to change the reason as to why they were cut in the first place. In the game, Robert cuts Victor because he's a buffoon, or he cuts Janelle since she's kinda evil.
Coop, if I'm honest, she still feels a little...
Evil?
Yeah.
That's too bad.
Isn't that a reason as to why she should stay? If she still has these murderous tendencies, why let her loose out onto the world? This clearly needed another draft. I think it would have been better if the story went more into who needed it the most, and who might have had a better chance using the theme here in a daily life setting. Personally, I chose to keep the assassin since she needed the rehab more, and Sonar has a degree. I was willing to believe that he had a better shot by himself, and if the story used that same mentality, it could have really made the final fight far more tragic, with Robert realizing that whomever he's fighting really needed the help. But as things stands, the decision just feels as if they wanted a choices matter thing gameplay-wise, with no true weight narratively. You know, I had planned to do an unscripted thing about Invisigal here, but the thing is that it was primarily about criticizing the idea they had rather than the execution of what they did in the story, so I think I'm gonna skip that, I'm sorry. It was primarily about, I feel that if you don't like Invisigal, it just weakens the story, but at the same time, it doesn't matter. I have more stuff to criticize. So let's just jump over to the next section, which is about missed opportunities and cliches. Yeah, sorry. Clichés happen when a writer doesn't know their world or characters well enough, causing them to write something unoriginal that we've seen constantly elsewhere. Missed opportunities, this makes, and so a writer needs to constantly remind themselves that every scene and every piece of dialogue have to be character-driven. Now, I have already mentioned a lot of the missed opportunities earlier in this critique. Since the writing doesn't interweave the different plot lines, we lost a lot of potential good dramatic moments, whether it be the redemption-seeking ex-villains bringing their history or thoughts onto Robert's ongoing fall, Sonar Coupe misjudged shot at other opportunities, or a helping hand coming from the one holding our hero's heart in the other. So there are two moments that I quite frankly just loathe, both of which are part of the climax of the story, which is the most important part of the story, if you ask me. And one of them is the mercy scene. So, a mercy scene is quite simply when the villain has the hero at their mercy, bringing up the question, how can our hero get out of this seemingly lost situation? There are 3, but really 2, ways of going around this. Overpowering the villain. Now, this might at first seem a bit lame, like the villain is about to win, but the hero suddenly just gets the strength to turn the table. That's pretty lame, it's not. And I think an example is the best way to show it with a good old superhero movie, Spider-Man 2002. I remember watching that as a cinema, it was great. I miss my childhood. Have having gotten his ass handed to him most of this fight, it really seems to be the end of Spider-Man, who has tried his best at defending himself, but when the Green Goblin states,
I'm gonna finish her nice and slow. MJ and I, we're gonna have a hell of a time.
Peter Parker realizes that if he dies here, all this horror, all this pain and suffering will be directed at his loved ones. So he can't die here. He has to win!
He's beginning to believe.
Fuck yeah! That's my hero right there! So overpowering the villain is absolutely something that can work, and work well. The second way of handling a mercy scene is when brain needs to triumph, or rather outthinking. Now, this isn't specifically meaning being smarter than the bad guy, but more being clever in turning the situation around. In the Christmas movie, Die Hard, John McClane finds himself in an unwinnable scenario. Hans Gruber has his wife at gunpoint, and he also has a second in command. The cop also knows how intelligent the thief is, so he does something pretty clever. He uses one of Gruber's strength, confidence, and turns it into a weakness. Dropping his weapon, hands in the air, will give him the opening he needs, as he is fully aware that Hans will not be able to help himself, dragging out this victory for as long as possible. Long enough to grab his hidden gun and win.
Trails, Hans.
Fuck yeah, that's my Christmas miracle right there! The third option is pretty much melding the two together, like pretty much just opening up a situation cleverly and then go in arm swinging. But what does Dispatch do? You know, like through the final battle, they know that, like, Shroud and his ability to just kind of see every possibility happening. He's able to just read all of their most optimal choices. He's able to just completely shank the team to the point where right now it seems to be all over. He's aiming his massive laser, his massive red eye at our boy, Robert. And then this happens. So, there is this term, Deus Ex Machina, which translates to God from Machine, which in this case is borderline literal. This sucks, because if there was a moment to have the Z-Team show their true colors as heroes, it should have been them. Like, it would be here. Ex-villains, saving the superhero who saved them. Instead of that, we gave this heroic moment to the old god of heroes, both of which have already saved someone during this narrative. Now, how they could have changed this into something special, it's really up to the writers. Everything that happens after the power source is destroyed and them suddenly doing all the combos and all the damage to Shroud, that's just a victory lap. They're just following Chase's victory lap. You gotta give the moment, the big important moment. They have to be the heroes to save our superhero. Come on, it was their moment! The thing that frustrates me is that this is the climax of the story. You can have some weaknesses here and there around the narrative, but not the climax, when the arguments from the protagonist and the antagonist sides are at their crescendo, their greatest strength, where the themes really are at their strongest, and this is where you fall face first down in the dirt? Now, to have a good climax, it requires a good foundation, and we've already established, I feel, that they have not done so. Again, great character, but I like him. But everything else is so weak. The next scene is pretty much the inverse of the mercy scene. It's when the hero has the villain at their mercy. If the mercy scene was the biggest lost potential, the last moment I want to talk about got to be the most cliché they could have gone with. This isn't a Dispatch original moment. This is just the hero is choking the villain to death while seeing his reflection in a puddle during the rain, trying to decide whether to show mercy or not moment. Now, to fully understand what I mean by this, I'm going to throw out an example from another game, where there's a very similar situation. A game I've discussed before on my channel, a game with the tagline, "Revenge solves everything." This game is, of course, Dishonored. Before I begin, let me just say that this example is being used not to state that this is what they should have done, but more explain why Dishonored's revenge moment is a Dishonored moment and not a cliché, and then with the knowledge we gain there, craft something that will turn Dispatch's cliché into a Dispatch moment. So quick summary. In Dishonored, you play as Corvo Atano, the royal bodyguard of Empress Jessamine Caldwin, both of which are secret lovers. At the beginning of the story, Jessamine gets assassinated, their daughter kidnapped, and the entire shebang gets blamed on Corvo. Long journey ahead, he eventually finds and fights the assassin who was paid to kill the Empress, Dowd, damn him, and he is given his dreamed of moment. So how did Dishonored turn this moment into something meaningful? Beaten and tired, Dowd's apprentices jump into the action to try to fend off Corvo and protect their master, but he harshly tells them not to intervene. We know throughout the entire fight that Dowd wants this moment to just be between them. Leaning back against a broken wall, he tells Corvo something in the most casual manner.
I have one more surprise for you. I ask for my life.
Instead of begging for mercy, tears welling and sobbing in great regret, Dowd stays true to his character and explains that throughout everything that has happened, he understands that what he did was wrong and wants to move on and live a life that he never had. He has had enough killing. He truly believes that this will fall into deaf ears because how could anyone truly forgive him?
So my life is in your hands. Make your choice.
And when Corvo allows him to live, ready to move on to find his daughter,
And you choose mercy. Extraordinary.
truly character-driven dialogue. Only Dowd could have said these lines in this game, making it not a villain's last request, but Dishonored's original character Dowd's final request. The writers also knew how to use their setting, their world, to elevate this moment as well, as instead of a random puddle, which just happens to show our hero's face, we see a statue of the late Empress behind Dowd, remember, the lover of our protagonist, as if she is a judge and Corvo the executioner. This moment is truly Dishonored's moment, and I hope I've been able to articulate my point on why they did something original and not cliché. The writers need to truly know their characters and world on the deepest level. Quickly jumping in there to say that I'm about to pretty much rewrite the moment from the game, meaning that I can't say anymore that I don't think I can be a better writer than the developer. You know, I don't think that I am. What I'm about to do is to read from my journal, sort of my rewrite, to specifically say, not that this is what you should have done, but more, this is how the moment will be more of a Dispatch original, rather than a cliché. So please keep that in mind. I'm not claiming that I know better than the writers, the four writers, I think it was 4 writers for Dispatch. I'm just saying that this moment was weak, it was cliché, and this is how they could have fixed it. And it was the climax, which is kind of important. So, and keep in mind, for this to work, as I said earlier, the foundation have to be stronger. So some other differences would have been made to have this be okay, but just follow me. This is how they could have made it more original. Visi jumps in, she's trying to stop Shroud, who is holding his gun. The gun is super important. Enraged, Robert runs in and tackles Shroud, which causes both of them to fall down into the hall leading into the building. I think this is important because, not important, but it would have been fun, because it links back to the start of the story, where Shroud causes Robert to fall from the sky in this robot that causes, goes into a coma. Story, goes on. Here, it would be that Visi and Robert causes Shroud to fall. But Robert goes down with him. Robert, cushioned by Shroud, him falling first and Robert falling on top of him, he stands up and he notices that pretty much Shroud is a bit broken right now. Big fall, broken arm, could be fun, yada yada yada, and he sees the gun, the pistol. The pistol is super important, just to quickly say, to remind people who played it but forgotten, because the story itself didn't do anything important with it. Every bullet of that gun, the 4 bullets primarily, 5 bullets was used, there are 6 bullets in total, 4 bullets was used to kill Robert's dad. The 5th was to show that Shroud wanted to see if it still worked, so this last bullet is kind of important symbolically. I would have Robert go and grab the gun. Remember, this gun was also his father's. Could be really powerful having him hold his father's gun, which his father probably got for self-defense, and now Robert is literally going in to shoot someone who can't defend themselves anymore, right? It's really powerful. Then, instead of having Shroud suddenly be like, please don't hurt, don't kill me, I would have him be really character specific and having him go, oh, you're gonna kill me. Like, statistically speaking, there is no way that you're gonna let me go.
I don't even need the astral pulse to know that you're going to kill me. Everything makes sense. You have your father's gun, the gun I used to kill your father, and right now, I've hurt your friends. But you get my point. Like, in Shroud's mind, it's 100% certainty that Robert's going to kill him. Character specific, character driven. If, again, there are choices there, if Robert shoots the villain, one, he proves the villain right, and he can say a line along, something along the lines of that this is the first time they both agree on something. That will prove that Shroud is right, that, he saw everything happen, blah, 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 and that, of course, Robert kind of falls from a superhero and he is not super anymore, if you will. If he doesn't shoot, if he chooses mercy, I feel what would be a really Robert thing to do would be to pretty much still shoot the gun, but miss right next to Shroud, and then he would kind of make fun of it. Sort of showing that, no, you're wrong. Also, this isn't my dad's gun, it's your gun. You used it, you stole it. And I feel like the power there, it would prove, one, that Shroud was wrong. Statistically speaking, what he thought was so clear ended up being disproven. It also would disproven for Shroud's sake. To show that, yes, Shroud turned into a villain because of what happened to Robert's father, or specifically what Robert's father did to him, because he got pretty much taken by surprise. And now he was taken by surprise, but it ended up being in a good way. He ended up living. So he would be chosen wrong, and in a way that makes Robert look like a hero. Personally, I feel like that entire scenario would be more in line with what the characters are, with the setting. Again, when you fall down the building and you're in the middle of a freaking superhero dispatch center, and Robert, the superhero, is about to murder someone who can't defend himself anymore, so you have that setting. You don't just have gravel, like a roof, a gray roof, like you're actually in the middle of a very sort of sacred place. He holds the gun that killed his father, that was, originally his father's. You have the characters speak in their way, the villain not crying for mercy or like, please don't. He would be very in character and go with the thematic thing that there's such a small shot, so there's such a small chance that I'll survive. So you know what, just shoot me, because we both know you're going to shoot me. I'm not even going to try to talk you out of it. And if you choose mercy, it would show that no, there was just statistically, it was astronomically low chance that he wasn't going to shoot you, yet he didn't. I feel like it would have been a special moment. Now again, I rambled a bit, I do apologize for that, but I don't know, it's important to understand that every moment, every single moment in a story, every beat should be character driven. And I feel like this, even though I'm not saying that this is perfect, would have been more dispatch. So yeah, let's jump into final thoughts. Nothing is different, it's just an illusion. Okay, so final thoughts, I will admit, all of it is I'm truly conflicted about this game, because the characters and the pacing of this thing is truly phenomenal. I truly can't get over how in every single playthrough I had, I truly felt immersed and just enjoyed every moment of it. However, the more I think about it, the more I use my brain, the more I realize just how broken and fundamentally uncreative the story. Aristotle once made a tier list of what was most important when it came to storytelling, and he put number 1, plot, and number 2, characters. But I believe, and I think most people would also agree with me, though what do I know, that character and plot are equally important. If you have a weak plot, if you have a weak story, then the characters, just through a consequence of that, are going to just be naturally weaker, and the other way around, vice versa. So I just wish that this game was perfect on the side of storytelling, as it was pretty close to being in character, because then these characters and this story, this game, would be something I would take with me through years and maybe my entire life. Whereas now, as things stands, at least Dispatch Season 1 is something I know for a fact, forget as I find something else that I will focus on, which is a shame. And no matter how good a potential season 2 may be, season 1 as a foundation for a continuation of a story is just not strong enough, and it will always be a blemish on what is called Dispatch. So yeah, I hope that you've learned something in this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. For those of you who might not be that interested in Dispatch, at least there were some educational value here. And I will also say that the reason for why I'm dressed this way is because originally my idea was to go through my notes in an unscripted manner and break through every episode, go through the scenes I really enjoyed and the scenes that I didn't particularly like, all the designs, which one, you know, just full-on tier list and shenanigans, stuff like that. But I decided against it because of unforeseen circumstances, so I just had to quickly get this get up. I mean, it's Christmas Eve pretty much right now, so I just need to focus and, you know, hurry on up. I'm gonna jump off now to my next 2 projects. I know for a fact that the third one, or rather the second from now, will be something you might be truly interested in. But my next video will be one where that's pretty unscripted. Whereas after that, it will be my Devil May Cry 3 super analysis, where I go into literally everything you can go into regarding story. So until then, I'm KingJGrim, or the guy who will repeat himself one more time in saying that he hopes that this video will be watched by someone from the Dispatch development team, ad hoc, whatever you prefer, and I'll see you guys next time. Happy holiday, Merry Christmas, gledelig jul. This will come after Christmas. Bye-bye!